Hi, friends. Today I want to talk to you about the books that I read in the month of April. I read 9 books in the month of April, and I am 7 books behind on my Goodreads goal. That's okay. You know what? I have time. It's still the beginning of the year. Is that a good thing to be behind in the beginning of the year or a bad thing? I don't know. We'll find out at the end of the year. The first book that I read is Vera Wong's Guide for Snooping on a Dead Man by Jessie Q. Sutanto, I think is how you say it. This is the second book in the Vera Wong series, and it was so good. I really enjoyed this book. It talked about is a theme that I've never read about before. I don't want to spoil it because it really comes to full light in the end, but I thought it was so well done. So in this book, we are following Vera Wong. She owns a tea shop, and she kind of finds these little mysteries to solve. She does her own research and she collects people and thinks they're all suspects and kind of does her own investigation. In this book, Vera ends up coming across a young woman who's very distressed because she finds out that her friend has killed himself, but Vera doesn't think that's the whole story. So she ends up gathering a bunch of evidence, gathering a bunch of friends, and kind of adopts them. And it's just so sweet. There is something so heartwarming about this series, and I really hope that she continues. These books are really cozy, but they do touch on some very serious matters. And I don't know how else to describe it, but they are very funny. I want Vera to adopt me because she sounds like the perfect grandma. It's just such a wholesome book. I rated this book 4.5 stars. Next, I read Spy Family Volume 15. This is a novel about a spy named Lloyd, and he goes undercover by getting a fake family. But little does he know that his wife is an assassin and his daughter is a telepath. Nobody knows what's going on except for the telepath. It is the story of them trying to save the world from war. And it's such a wonderful graphic novel. I love this whole series. I rate it 5 stars every time I read one. So 5 stars. And I will continue the series when they publish some more novels. Next, I read Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews. I've heard nothing but good things about this, and honestly, it fell kind of flat for me. Don't Let the Forest In is about a young man named Andrew, and he is in a boarding school with his sister and his best friend. This is a queer young adult romantasy. This book kind of reminds me of Bridge to Terabithia meets Perks of Being a Wallflower because we have the high school aspect of not fitting in, finding your very small group of friends, but also there is a lot of writing that is coming to life. And that part reminded me of Bridge to Terabithia when they go into the forest and they make pretend and things are real to them. Yeah, it was very intense because this is like the more grown-up version of Bridge to Terabithia where things get very scary very fast. I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars. I really didn't feel like I could connect with any of the characters, and I just don't know how I feel about the ending. I still don't know what's true and what's not. The next book that I read was Mate by Ali Hazelwood. This is the second book to Bride. You don't really need to read Bride before you read Mate because they are companion novels, but it did help that I have already read Bride. Mate is about Serena, who is a half werewolf, half human hybrid, and because of her circumstances, she is used for political power. Basically, there's a lot of political intrigue similar to Bride, but there's also a very steamy romance, and I really enjoyed it. I love that our main character from Bride, Misery, she comes back and is not as prominent as I would have liked to see, but is still in this book. And I just love her relationship with Serena. They're so cute. I ended up giving Mate 4 stars. The next book that I read was The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a companion novel, again, to The Spell Shop. In The Spell Shop, we are introduced to a sentient plant named Kaz, and he kind of touches on that the woman that made him was banished because you're not supposed to use magic if you're not a sorcerer. And so This story, we are following that woman. Her name is Tara Lou. She ends up being turned into a statue as a punishment for creating her sentient plant. And lo and behold, it's 6 years later, and she wakes up on an island full of magical greenhouses. She was brought there to save the greenhouses. Turns out she's not even a sorcerer. So they're trying to figure out how to fix the greenhouses. There is a little cute romance in this book, but there's also elements of found family. And I think that all of the magical talking plants that are in this book are very cute. They all have their own personalities. I highly recommend the audiobook for this because the narrator does such a wonderful job giving each plant their own individual voice. I would love to visit these magical greenhouses because they sound so fantastical. And I love the flying cat as well. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. Next, I read The Maid's Secret by Nita Prose, the third and final installment of the Molly the Maid series. It's really just called The Maid, but Molly the Maid makes more sense to me. The Maid's Secret is still following Molly, and she's still working for the hotel, but some of her favorite people from an Antiques Roadshow situation come to see the hotel and do their show from there. And Molly decides that she wants to get one of her items appraised, and it turns out that it is worth millions of dollars. Obviously, there's a lot of drama surrounding that, but then the egg goes missing. So she is trying to figure out what happened to the egg and kind of uncovers a lot more about her grandmother that she didn't know. And we've been getting hints along the way of who the grandmother really is from book 1. So it's actually really cool to see all of it come full circle and understand her and her grandmother's relationship and see how her grandmother grew up via a diary. It was very, very cool. I think that this was a good end to a series, and I'm happy to have finished the series. I gave this book 4 stars. Next, I read Snake Eater by T. Kingfisher. I really enjoy T. Kingfisher's writing. She does such a good job with horror novels, and I've read one YA novel by her too, and it was really cute. Snake Eater is about a young woman named Selena who basically runs away from her life with her dog. She tries to go to her aunt's house only to find out that her aunt is no longer with us. And so she is told by the locals, hey, just stay the night in her house. It's no big deal. Just stay as long as you like. Things are taken care of. We will take care of you. She's like, no, I'm going to go. But then slowly as the book progresses, like she's like, this isn't so bad. I can stay a little bit longer. Anyway, if you know T. Kingfisher, she gets a little strange with her books. And this is definitely strange. This novel is very rooted in Native American lore. So I really appreciated that because I grew up surrounded by a bunch of reservations and I don't often get to read stories about that. So that was kind of cool to actually see that in a mainstream novel. It is also about an evil roadrunner. In her author's note, T. Kingfisher said she just wanted to write a novel about an evil roadrunner. She did. He's a pretty bad dude. I gave this book 4 stars. It's definitely not for everybody. If you like weird, whimsical, sometimes gross things, you might like this book. Next, I read The Apothecary Diaries, Volume 15. This series is about a young woman named Mau Mau. She ends up going to work in the palace, and she works for a couple of different people in the palace, but mainly she is a poison taster and an apothecary to the concubines. It is really cute. I love this series. I love Mau Mau. She's just very smart and intelligent, but also kind of oblivious. I just love it. I rate every one of these mangas that I read 5 stars, so 5 stars. This is a 5-star series for me, and I can't wait until the next volume. The last book that I read was The Anomaly by Michael Rutger. This is weird. We are following the guy that runs the Anomaly Files and his crew, and they are looking for a cavern in the Grand Canyon that has been documented in history to hold some very unique things, and they found it. And it got wild. And if you are claustrophobic, I'm not claustrophobic, but this book made me feel very claustrophobic when I was reading it. This book was not what I expected. The twists kept coming. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I was really engaged the entire time that I was reading it, but there were some slower parts and some very gross parts that it just could have been without. This is part of a series. There's another book called The Possession, and I do plan on picking that up soon. So we will see if I like that one any better. Let's talk about my statistics for the month of April. I read 9 books total, 6 audiobooks, and 3 ebooks. I read 2,832 pages. It's an average of 94.4 pages per day. Not my best. On average, it took me 4.33 days to finish a book. It took me a long time to finish some of these books. My average rating was 4.1 stars. I read 7 female authors, 2 male authors, and 2 new-to-me authors. No middle grade, 3 YA, and 6 adult books. I read 5 fantasy, 2 thriller, and 2 other. And honestly, I feel like the Anomaly Files, I lopped it in with fantasy, but I feel like it could have been fantasy thriller. Like there's kind of a crossover for that genre. My favorite book of the month was Vera Wong. I just love her. I love her as a character. I want more of her. This book reminds me of Finley Donovan because of the way it makes me feel. It just makes me feel so like giddy, and I love the found family. I love her banter. She's just so funny. Like she's just a funny character. And I don't find that a lot in books where I'm literally laughing out loud. But Vera Wong, she makes me laugh. Let's flip over my counter. For January to March, I read 31 books, and now I've read a total of 40. I finally feel like I'm coming out of my reading slump. I've been watching a lot of Supernatural this past month, but I got 5 library holds all at one time. I'm going to be reading like nobody's business, except yours. Thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me. If you're still here, let me know if you've read any of these books or if any of these books sound good to you. And if you don't know what to comment, comment down below what's on your TBR. I will see you guys soon in a new video. Happy reading. Okay. Pugs, evacuate. Evacuate the room. Hi friends. Today I want to talk to you about the book. No, I hate this lighting. I freaking hate it. Ooh. But Snake Eater is about a young woman. What is her name? I cracked my voice like I'm a teenager in puberty. Okay. I need water. I'm parched, man. I don't know why I gave it 3 stars. Let's talk about my statistics. It's my favorite time. I will see you soon in a new video. Nope.